In this tutorial, we're going to take a look at the bin window of Edius and the many different ways that you can use the bin window to organize your media for fast and efficient edit sessions in Edius. Let's maybe open up our project here that we have started on the country of Myanmar. Now, you will remember from a previous session that we imported a lot of material already from one of our cameras on this shoot, the Canon 6D camera. But when we did that, we just kind of brought them all into the root folder of our bin. And before we can really start editing, at least before we can start doing efficient edits, we need to organize all of this material into a much better filing system. Right now, they're kind of all out in the ocean, you might say. Let's say you had a word processing system on your computer, and for the last 5 years, you've just been saving every document out into one folder. Well, as you go and try and find a document, it's going to be time-consuming and difficult to find the document that you're looking for. And so if we want to set up a situation where we want to have very efficient edit systems, it's worth taking the time to organize your media into a good filing structure. Now, you might remember from one of our very first tutorials, there are many different ways that you can set up your Windows system or your working environment to facilitate certain tasks. And when we are working on organizing our media using the bin window, we don't need to have our timeline very big, so we could stretch that down. We also probably don't need to see two windows here, a preview window and a record window. We could change that to be just the single mode to have one window. And we probably don't need the window to be that large. As we preview clips, we can probably get away with something about that size there. And this opens up our space to be able to work with the media in our bin window a lot better. Now, if you are just jumping right into this tutorial without having taken a look at previous tutorials that we have recorded on how to import media, maybe just a quick review. There are basically 4 different ways that you can import media into your project, into your bin window. First of all, probably the easiest way or most direct way is to use the Add Clip tool button here. And as we click on that, we are taken to a file explorer. Another way to launch this file navigator is to just click anywhere inside our bin window, especially if it's a blank area here. If we double click anywhere in this area, that will open up our file explorer as well. And as we open up this little drop-down arrow here, we will be able to access any of the hard drives that are currently attached to our computer. So let's say we have media that is placed somewhere on our E drive. We can go after those files. For example, I believe that I need to import, all of these audio files. When you're shooting with a DSLR camera, of course, the mic on these cameras are not the best, and so you really should have a supplementary way of recording important audio, especially interviews and that type of thing. And so that's what we have here. And so we'll just grab all of these, select all by Control A, and hit the Open button, and that brings in all of our audio. But you'll see that it has just landed in the big ocean here in the root folder. This might be a good opportunity to start organizing this material. Let's create a folder and call it something like audio for interviews. And then we can just click back to our root folder and go and select all of those audio files and drag and drop those. Once they're all selected, just hit down on your left mouse key button and holding it down, drag those across and point to your destination folder. And some of you who might be coming from other video editing programs might be wondering, why can't we open up more than one bin? I believe it was Avid software that I used to work with that allowed you to have many bins open on your screen at once to facilitate this process of organizing clips by dragging and dropping from one bin to another. Well, even though Edius does not allow you to have more than one bin open at a time, you can still do the organizing by simply dragging and dropping into a folder. And in many ways, it is actually a little better because you can have a visual of many folders or many bins at once. You can think of each one of these folders that you can create as its own separate bin. Let's call this Bagan. It's a place in Myanmar that has all of these ancient pagodas. So we can scroll down and locate all of the clips from Bagan. Here they start here. Select the first one, scroll down, pick up the last one there. With a shift key held down, select all of those, and then think of this as an action of dragging and dropping into the Bagan bin. Let's call it a bin. Bin, the word bin actually kind of is a throwback to the medium of film. When a film editor works to assemble the movie, they will get a hold of the film that was shot with the movie camera, and they will cut those shots into strips. They'll look through the film, they'll see every take that was done on the movie set, and for every take, they'll cut that into strips. And they will organize those strips of film into appropriate bins so that when they're assembling the movie together, they can easily find the shot that they are looking for based on an organizational system of bins. And that's basically what we're doing here in Edius, and virtually all video editing programs work the same way. We're organizing all of our clips, all of our audio, all of our graphics, all of our still shots, music, everything into a bin so that we can easily find them as we are editing. Now, a second way that you can import media to your bin is what we have seen in a couple of tutorials, is using the source browser tool of Edius. You'll remember, if you've been following along, how you can access media from CDs and DVDs and other types of media. We looked at how to get media from your XF folders, and I'm guessing that many of these other options, like the XD cam, work in a very similar way that we demonstrated with the XF folder, and how you can access those folders using a right click and selecting open folder and navigating to that hard drive where you have saved the media that is associated with that type of camera. Let's see what we have here under XF300. We have 3 cards that I have transferred with my card reader, and if you are jumping right in here again, you might want to check back in a previous tutorial to show you the workflow that we have developed that will allow us to do this. But I just click on the folder that I have created on my hard drive that contains the content folder, the clip folder, and as we open this up, we see a number of shots as well. But the folder that we want to point to is the folder that I created to drop all of this material in when I transferred from the card. Let's hit OK and then point to that, and we'll see the shots show up here in our source browser, and from there we can choose any of the shots that we want to include in this particular project. Using your control key, select the ones that you want to use, and then go up to the top menu strip and choose an option either of adding and transferring to bin or just simply adding to bin. If they're coming from a hard drive, something other than what your project is stored on, I recommend using the option to add and transfer to bin, and that will make a copy of your media from your external drive that is plugged into your computer and make a copy to the drive where your project is being stored. And that way you'll have all of that media collected onto your project drive as well. Okay, and if you want more information about how to do all of that with the source browser, there are other tutorials here for you to take a look at. Let's go back to our bin window and take a look at a couple of other ways to import media. One way is to actually import a previous project of Edius. Let's say I had worked on a project in a previous year on Burma. I could, if I have that hard drive available, I could plug in that hard drive and actually import that Edius project inside this project so that it would become kind of like a sub-project of the new one. Or another way that I use this is to bring in all of my music media. I have an Edius project that I have imported all of my licensed music to, and I have sorted this audio into appropriate genres and feels and moods. And whenever I start a new project, I like to import that music project into my new project. And that way I don't have to organize my music every time I start a new project. So to show you how to do that, how to import a previous Edius project, let's go down here to the timeline menu strip. And under this icon here of Open Projects, there's a little down arrow. Click on that and you'll see that you have more options here. One of them says Import Project. And if you're brand new to Edius, you might think that, well, there it is. There's the option I'm looking for, Import Project. However, this is a little bit unfortunate wording here in the menu because this option actually refers to importing more of an edit decision list from other video editing software programs rather than importing a previous Edius project. The actual menu option that you are looking for to import a previous Edius project is listed as Import Sequence, which again is unfortunate wording because in any given project you might have 100 sequences. And Edius does not allow you to import one individual sequence from any given project. You can only bring in the whole project. So it might be interesting to note that Edius is a very international program, and it has been translated into many languages, and sometimes the translations might not be the best. But the one that we're looking for when we want to import a previous project, a previous Edius project, is Import Sequence. Let's click on that. And once we open this dialog box, we see that the wording starts to get a little better here. We see the term Import Project. That's encouraging. And here we can go and browse for either a recently opened project by hitting the down arrow, or by using our Browse button, we can actually open up a file explorer and navigate to any of the hard drives that are currently connected to your computer. This E drive is actually the same drive that our project is on, and I believe I have transferred all of my music over to this drive. And so yes, here it's showing up here. It's a project that I have called Music. So I'm just going to click on that, and here, before we hit OK, we are given the option, you'll notice, of whether or not you want to copy these audio files or all of these music files into our project folder. And if I was bringing in this music project from a hard drive that was something other than my project drive, I probably would check that option, especially if I had enough space on my project drive. That way, all of the audio, all of the music will be together under my project drive, and I'll never have to worry about any of those files showing up as being offline 5 years down the road when I may have to work with this project again. However, since I know that all of my music has been transferred already to my project drive, and it's all inside a folder here on my project drive, the production music, it's all there already, I don't necessarily feel it's that important to copy the clips or copy this media again into my project folder. So I'm going to leave that unchecked and then hit OK. And now we have brought a project, our music project, into our Myanmar project. And as we open up the folder, which has been renamed according to the project name, music, now we see that our music is nicely organized into various instrumentation or the kind of the feel of the piece, or if we're looking for ethnic music, you can see I have it nicely organized. If I'm looking for some Asian music, I can click on that folder, or we might call it a bin folder, and quickly and readily have all of this music organized, ready to listen to see if I can include it in my new project. I don't have to, import all of my music using the add clip and then sort out all of that music every time. I might have about 1,000 pieces of licensed music here, and I don't want to have to take the time to organize that every time. So this is a nice, quick, easy way. Organize your music once into one Edius project, save that, and import it into each new project that you're working on. And if I'm looking for a piece of music that has a nice emotional feel, well, I can start listening to these musics. Just by double-clicking on it and hitting the space bar, I can preview the music very quickly. You might remember from a previous session that we brought in some music from a CD. Well, what we could do now is drag and drop that folder inside our new music folder, because we don't need to have two bins or two folders called music. Now this one is completely empty. We can just hit the delete key, so we just have the one music folder. Okay, so that is 3 ways that you can import media into your bin. You can use the Add to Clip tool to navigate through your hard drives, looking for clips or media, or audio, still pictures, whatever. You can use your source browser to access media that is just a little bit more difficult to access. And you can use the import project or import sequence, as the case may be, from previous Edius projects. A 4th way is to go to your hard drives, and if you have a folder that has already been organized into a file structure that contains media that you might want to use in your project. For example, I have a folder here on my hard drive from a shoot that I did in Myanmar in the year 2009. It was actually on a different hard drive, but in preparation for starting to edit on this project, I just grabbed that whole folder from another hard drive and copied it to my project folder. So now I have all of my shots from 2009, and as I click open this folder, I see that I have already organized my shots into various themes and subject matter. So if you have a file system full of media that you want to use in a project like this, where you have already organized your media into folders, well, here's another method that you can use to import your media. Navigate to your hard drive. Well, first of all, it's probably a good idea to copy that folder to your project folder so that all of the media will be together on one hard drive. Grab hold of your folder that already has your file structure in place and drag and drop that over to your bin window, to the folder section of your bin window, and release your mouse button, and it starts the process of importing all of that media that you had in that folder on your project drive. And because I know I have maybe a couple of 1,000 clips here, I'm just going to maybe put you on pause while all of this comes in. All right, we have imported all of that folder, and we'll see that they have come in and they have created their own bin folders, if we can call them that, the bin folders, based on the file structure, the way that we had organized it on our hard drive. If you took a moment to compare, you could see that all of these folders that I had created on my hard drive are reflected now in the file structure system of our bin window. Well, I see that this tutorial is already running long, and I'm only about halfway through the material that I want to show you about the bin window, so I think I'm going to break this up into 2 tutorials. In our next tutorial, we will spend some time learning the various options of our menu strip here, our button strip. We will take a look at the variety of different ways that you could have the clips displayed, showing text information about each clip and the various text information options that you can add or take away. We will discuss the various options that you have when you right-click on any clip. You'll see that you have a drop-down menu and lots of options that you can learn about how you can work with each individual clip with this drop-down menu. So still lots more to come on the bin window. So stick around for our next tutorial on how to organize your media using the bin window.